Good day, Cade Sport race fans and racers. Looking forward to today. Today will be a little bit different. I think I'll be talking more about drafting dynamics and saving watts as an endurance rider in the draft than about skills and cornering today, but we'll see. We do have a couple of events that are skill oriented, but the vast majority of today is around longer events, less technical events. We start with Lake Bend, 8.5 kilometers, medium difficulty, and really I would say this is on the lower end, not even really in the medium section so much. That's a little computer glitch if you ask me. There are one or two corners that you can crash on in Lake Bend, so you do have to sort of pay attention a little bit. But the vast majority of the course is don't think about skills, but do think about how you're saving the watts while you're in the draft and where it's best to do that. Next week, maybe we'll do something like this with a little bit of wind in it, and that'll add to the difficulty as we echelon, and you've got to figure out which side of a rider to be on to get the best wind. And if we crank that up a bit, maybe those echelons will form. And that'll be fun to watch as well. Second event for the day is Cade Kart Aurora, one of my favorite Cade Kart courses, short 2.3 kilometers. So what we'll have here is basically a high skill event. This is a high skill event, but it's very short. It's only one times one on the points factor for the playlist today. So low points, short event. Give some time for the riders to recover also. Can't really go too hard on Cade Kart Aurora. So what you'll see is from the first event, probably a lot of tired legs from an endurance event. So they get to recover here a little bit. And then sort of the queen stage for today, we've got Apex Mountains, 15 kilometers, 2.0 times points. So double points here. And again, this is not a very technical course at all. In fact, I doubt there's any place that you can crash on this one unless you're, in a group that's really doing a team time trial or something, and with its maximum power. So that's going to be a fun race. Again, we'll probably talk more about saving watts than about taking corners in that one. And that's probably the key to winning the overall today. And then lastly, we have another technical course to sort of calm down the legs, one-time multiplier on the points. Very short, 1.5 kilometers, very short. But it might get exciting depending on what the standings are for the playlist and turn everything on its head. But my guess is the deal will be sealed by then, and some endurance rider will have risen to the top of the stats. Top of the leaderboard. So it'd be interesting to see. We start here looking at Dave Morrison from West London. We all go back to the start line. Everybody is transparent, means everybody has an equal chance at the start, and off we go. Usually big watts being applied at the start, and as usual, the riders are out into a big effort, and we thinned out to a line. That line will maintain itself. And we've got, it looks like, who's off the front? Is that Erhan? Nope, Erhan's back here a little bit. Oh, we've got Afonso from Portugal off the front, making a big effort today. I think he's seen that the day looks to be non-technical. He's a newer rider, so it takes a little while to get the practice down on the technical side, and he's looking to use his legs today to drive a big difference. And he's done so. Big 5-second gap, and then sort of everybody is sort of in a pack following him. I imagine that pack will go fairly hard, but maybe they'll let BJ out there cook a bit. That's what I would be doing. Just sort of let him cook a bit, and we'll all sort of rest up. Now, the other thing, man, BJ's going for it all. He's using a power up, a razor's edge, so he's definitely trying to get as much gap as he can here early on. Now, 7.4 kilometers to go. This is kind of a good tactic on the first race of the day, as you could hold sort of a VO2 max effort for most of this ride and sort of maybe be in the sweet spot as well and sort of stay away. And BJ might be getting a little bump from equalization, but that'll be changing in real time as we're watching. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Now we see Timothy here saving energy in the draft, and you still do see a line here, which would tell us that everybody's going pretty hard, and we do see the watts up. But great drafting here. Looks like a team time trial, even though everybody's not on the same team. You see this in real life cycling events all the time. When the pressure is on, the peloton thins out to a line, and that's what you're seeing here on CadeSport. Great drafting dynamics. Now, a little bit of a gap opening up here, and you really got to watch those gaps if you want to save the watts, because, man, it's a killer to close those gaps. Now, Shaq was opening up the gap there a little bit. Nobody went around her. She's closed it now. But what you'll see, man, closing down those gaps is really not fun. Oh, now this is interesting. So I think Timothy, is he looking to close that gap of 10 seconds to BJ, or is he just trying to make sure that BJ doesn't get so much of a lead that it becomes a really big effort later on? That'll be interesting to see. We've got Kay following him, and then we've got Pedro sort of letting the gap open up a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if these riders, instead of attacking each other, do a pace line. They've got quite a few riders that could work together in the pace line, and I think if they take turns, what we will see is that they'll be able to bring back BJ fairly easily, just like in real life cycling. Now, that being said, unlike other platforms, the pack does not have a blob dynamic. So, as in real life, it does take somebody on the front of the pack putting out more power than BJ in order to pull him down. And just like in real life, the way that this is normally done is they take turns, right? So we've got Homer Thompson on the front. We've got a pretty long line here. So maybe he pulls for 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, maybe in as much as a minute. Probably not much longer than that with this many people. Then he should pull off and let the next person in line do the pull, and he should go back to the end where he's going to get like 60-70% draft in a line like this, maybe even more, as much as 80%. And boy, he's going to get a lot of rest. Now, just like in real life, what you got to pay attention to is getting back onto the end of the line. And Timothy's probably overcooked it here a little bit as he's trying to pull everybody. So that's another dynamic that you can really learn about in CadeSport that the other platforms don't really give you. That's like indoor riding, which is learning how to increase your power on the front in a smooth and controlled manner so that everybody can kind of follow you, right? That's definitely what you want to do. And indeed, we do see the gap coming down to BJ to 5 seconds. Now you get the group sort of splitting up. Now, are people thinking about, I can cross this gap myself and maybe work with BJ and we can win the day? Or should I stay with the pack, go to the back, get my recovery like Homer's doing, and then later on, maybe with a kilometer or two to go, then I'll make my move. So great drafting dynamics today. We see Homer here at the back getting a big draft savings, good rest here. And we see BJ holding his effort. He's over threshold. Threshold on CadeSport for the equalized rider is 412 watts. So very good, even a very good pro rider. That's good for a pro rider to hold. And so we see BJ just trying to hold this. Now he's got 4.3 kilometers to go. He's crossed the halfway point, 2 laps out of 4 down. He hasn't had any issues on any of the corners. Nobody has so far. And we see the whole pack come along. So that's awesome. No crashing today. And we did go through one of those points that could crash you down. Now, bad news for BJ here. We can see that the pack is coming back. Great camera angles. Thanks, guys. And what you see here is the pack is charging, and now you're getting that dynamic. So Timothy says, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do an attack, and I'm going to try and work with BJ, and then maybe the two of us can hold off. And now, look at those pack dynamics back there, everyone. That looks like real-life cycling, right? So the line stopped, the pack spread out, we got a peloton effect, and now they're going to go hard again and move back to a line. But that just shows you how realistic CadeSport is with regards to the draft and the drafting dynamics and the fact that you can position yourself on the road. And look at that. We got people all over the road. And that's just sort of the chaos that you see as people try and chase back on. Now, Timothy says, BJ, I'm not interested in working with you. Thank you for providing me a bridge. I've bridged to you, and now I am just going to leave you in the dust. I think Timothy's taking it a little bit personally that I mentioned that today the tops of the leaderboards might change, and we're moving more towards the endurance athletes, favoring the endurance athletes with today's courses versus the technical aspects. And I would tend to think of Timothy as more on the technical side, but maybe he's trying to show us that that's not indeed the case. Great work here by BJ to get back on the wheel, and we can see back there just 6 seconds off of these guys is the peloton. What remains of the peloton, they're thinning out to a thin line here. We've got Shaq working to chase them down, and hopefully they're taking turns here, right? And as long as they continue to take turns, that speaks well for the peloton, bringing back that 4 seconds. And it indeed looks like maybe the motivation has, well, as I say that, the motivation looks to be coming back. So maybe they're going around a corner there again, and that's one of the things. As you go around a tight corner or a semi-tight corner, these aren't really technical courses, you do tend to coast as well. And what we see there is an easing at the front, but I don't think they've given up. I thought maybe they'd given up the motivation and we're going to wait for the peloton to pull them back. But this is absolutely great dynamics here in Cade Sport, and it looks like Carl has bridged the gap. I didn't even see that. How did I miss that? But it looks like, oh, I guess it's all back together again. So I stand corrected. The peloton did pull everybody back in, and now you see a slowing. Okay, I'm just loving this. How realistic this ends up being, because you see that the peloton starts to stretch across the road, right, instead of being in that thin line, and that tells you, without even looking at the power numbers, that okay, the power is off. And when that happens, Homer says, I won yesterday, I'm feeling good today, I think I'll see if I can put these people under a world of hurt. Now, he's also putting himself in the hurt locker. I think the hurt locker starts at 190 beats. Equalized heart rate, which is where Homer is at the moment, maybe coming back down a little bit as he backs off the power. But everybody here, one near that hurt locker, Sebastian in the hurt locker at 192, but everybody up in the 180s basically. Shaq looks comfortable. Kay Thompson looks comfortable as well, but Kay Thompson's maybe off the back. Maybe that's why. Boy, I hope she can. You got to get back on, Kay. So big effort and a lot of draft there on offer at the back of the pack as it sort of slowed down at the front. Oh, so this is okay. This is great team play. So you got Homer and Kay Thompson of CCC. Homer's gone to the front, and with Kay off the back, he's like, you know what? I'm going to back off on the power, give her a chance to catch back on, and that is great team play. And so hopefully that sets them up well with a kilometer to go. If she gets back on, maybe she goes right by the pack and they try and work together. So here with a kilometer to go, we should be seeing some attacks develop as we come to the line. And sure enough, it looks like we've got Timothy off the front, but Shaq is responding, and oh, Shaq is like, I've got this one. So my money's on Shaq today. And a power up also with the Razor's Edge. Now, the only thing she has to be careful of is the corners coming up, but this looks like a huge move. BJ's trying to answer. Pedro's trying to answer. Pedro's dropped his Razor's Edge as well. Oh, that's just horrible. So the skill comes out and shows it today. I was pretty sure either Pedro or Shaq had it, and that one last technical corner that you really had to be going fast in catches them out. Oh my gosh. Timothy goes down. Now, can Sebastian break through this? Look at that. Mr. Consistent. And now he hits his power up. I'm sure there's a big smile on Sebastian's face and then Carl's face. Wow, what a change of events there right at the end. That one technical corner made all of the difference in this race, made it terribly exciting, and cost me the big bet on Shaq, because it looked to me like she definitely had the win if she could have just come off the power for that particular event. Fantastic race there. Great pack dynamics, great drafting. Really love the look of that. congratulations to Sebastian, Carl, and Homer. Homer comes in for third. Timothy Tamont, who looked to me to really have the win in the very last corner, crashes, and it costs him big. He drops down to fourth. That'll cost him a lot on the points as well. And I'm going to take a moment here and write down the list so I can do some points calculations in my head. Hopefully Beth will be joining me here shortly. And that will allow me to do some mental calculations. Shaq goes from a possible win to sixth. Kay Thompson pulls it back in. So great work by Homer to sort of take the edge off of the front of that pack. Then we have Dave of West London in as well. Then we have BJ, who did a fantastic effort at the beginning and just faded a little bit at the end. And then we've got Lisa of West London rounding out the top 10. Fantastic race. Boy, that was fun for me on so many levels. The pack dynamics just looked completely real. Everything there sort of behaving as you would expect it to behave. It's one of the things that we sort of monitor in the game. And we're going to go from that to a highly technical course. I doubt there will be any serious pack dynamics in this one. Because normally what you'll have is maybe a few riders have the discipline. Here you would be picking Timothy. You would be picking Sebastian would be my top two. Now, that being said, Carl's really started to come into his own on the technical side. And so we'll probably see Carl in the mix here. And then the question becomes, who else will have the discipline to, take these very tight corners inside of a, indoor kart course with the proper braking. What you'll see here, I imagine, is you'll see Timothy saving some of his skids by turning into the skid. So that's a thing on CadeSport. You can turn into the skid. You can save your skid just like you would a car or a motorcycle. Maybe a motorcycle is a little bit more appropriate, but probably more people are familiar with turning into a skid on your car. That's something that you can do with the phone on your handlebars. You can do it with the keyboard, but that is something that you definitely have to do manually. So autopilot will not do that for you. So this is a high skill event. Now it's only a 1x. We just had a 1.5x. So Seb's definitely in the lead here. Seb should be very good on this. And here we go at the start. Again, everybody's transparent. The launch to the first corner is really interesting on these Cade kart courses. And you see Sebastian does it with a plum here. He gets a huge boost, but then he's much off the power. Oh, we've got some power ups. And Carl says, I've got a better idea. Sebastian, I'm going to go stupid hard right out of the gate, and look at that. I'll say this about Carl and the power-ups. Man, does he have the timing down on those power-ups, and he understands he's got to be practicing that because he has got the timing down on these things and the amount of watts that he's got to put out, and he immediately opens up a 5-second gap. Oh, a great skid save there by Sebastian, so he saves it. And maintains his second position. He's still about 5 seconds behind, but 2 seconds behind him is Timothy. And the thing that Timothy can do through the corners, and there you see another one of those skids. I just love seeing that. It actually gets my heart rate going. Probably not as much as it gets Timothy's heart rate going, but I just love to watch that. Here we see Lisa of West London taking a corner very well in fourth position. This is fantastic. I tend to think of Lisa more of an endurance rider. And that's because she's newer to the platform, and so it takes a little while to gain the skills, but it looks like she's got it down. Now, Dave Morrison, not so much there on that corner, but he was doing well until that point. But you see easily 3 people go by him as he goes down. You've got Homer here, Erhan from Turkey. You got Shaq going down. So you got a lot of carnage in the back here, but people doing well at the front. You got a little bit of a group here, and this gets nervy, right? As you're riding side by side with people, and we've got Erhan here in camera. You can look at the focus, the concentration that CadeSport requires on a course like this, and that's a tricky corner. And he goes down in it because you start to go downhill on a corner, and so it's very easy to pick up too much speed and skid, and then carnage in the next corner. Up at the front, here we've got Timothy on the video in the lower left, and look at a great view here. You can see how this feels, right? So in third person view, you don't really get this sense that the riders would get But this is a great view. It gives you the sense of speed. This is much better for getting a sense of speed than the third-person view. And so I think a lot of riders might choose this to ride the Cade Kart courses, especially because you get a better sense of the speed and the tightness of the corners. And so you know you have to brake. And here you see Timothy doing really well, but Carl's still off the front with that. Sebastian in third. Seb's doing really well. And as you can see, Carl's very consistent here. 0.8 kilometers to go, so another lap to go. And he's just got to take it careful on that corner, and of course he does. He's got 9 seconds, so I think he'll be in conservative mode. Really, he just has to avoid going down to secure the win today. Sebastian, who's probably trying to push it to catch up to Timothy, because that will, for the points scored. But I think Sebastian will still be at the top. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I think Sebastian in third place may still be at the top with a 1.5 multiplier, but I'll do some calculations on that a bit later. So I think Carl's got this one sewn up as long as he doesn't make a mistake. Lisa was closing in there on Sebastian, but she goes down, and now she's giving Vanessa a chance. But see, Vanessa gets excited, and Vanessa goes down as well. Lisa goes down again. So one of the things that's very interesting on these courses, they really require a lot of discipline, and you see Carl and Timothy and Sebastian doing that because once you've crashed, it's like a domino effect. It's like you break the dam, and you can just crash as you try and make up for your crash, and that's a big mistake. Just put the crash behind you, forget about it, and just keep riding the race as you were at the beginning. And what's interesting about that is you'll pass a lot of people that way because they'll be doing the domino effect as well. So we see Carl here coming in, big win, lots of time in this race. Congratulations, Carl. And then we'll see Timothy. A lot of separation on these technical courses. You see Sebastian take another risk because he's got more than enough time. Oh, and that's interesting. Seb saved some power-ups, so maybe that crash really cost him. If he hadn't done that crash, he might have been able to get back around Timothy. So interesting tactics there. Just a little bit of bad luck for Seb. Lisa to come across in fourth position, it looks like. And that's a great finish for her. Shaq recovered from some of those early wrecks. She beats Vanessa, which is a little bit surprising for me. Normally I would think of Vanessa as the more technical rider over Shaq, but Shaq's really coming into her own as of late. Vanessa doing a good job. And then Erhan's always in here. He's always around the top 10, and he rides a lot, and there are some fatigue factors that start to set in, but a great job for him as well. Okay, let's see. I'm going to just make some notes here of the overall
Frank.
Positions. That was a fun race. And let's see, we got.
Hey Frank,
Jack,
can you hear me?
Erhan, I can. I think.
Yay!
I'm hearing you somewhere,
yes.
Beth.
All right.
I'm not sure. Yep. Okay. Yep. I hear you. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm the
just in time. I can do some math.
That's why I heard you doing the calculations. You were sharpening your pencil. But this is race 2. Carl comes out on top. Timothy in second. Seb, I saw the last lap of that race here, joining the broadcast a little bit late. So race 2 of 4 for the day. And as we have Frank crunching the numbers there, just shout out to Lisa, Shaq, Vanessa, Erhan, Kay, Homer, Pedro, BJ, and Christy. This is awesome. I love seeing the new names. And BJ, we saw you racing last week. It was awesome to call out your name, my former teammate. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to head into race 3. It is a hilly course. It's a road course, and it's 15 kilometers, medium difficulty, but you can see there the apex mountains there. You know, it is a little bit lumpy, a big up, a big down. And, you know, as you know, in Cade Sport, when you're going downhill and you're getting that speed, braking into those turns before you get to them are going to be pretty important. As far as power-ups on this hilly course, if we have any power-ups in play, we can show the folks at home. Otherwise, we'll let it be a mystery and reveal it once we get out of the gate. But here we are. So we have in race 4, we have a corner caper and a quantum shift, one of each. You can see that the duration of those are only 10 seconds, and they won't refill. So there you are. While you're active, you cannot slide or crash in the corners. Super important. And the other one, while you're active, you can move through other racers so you don't get boxed in. Okay, here we are, 2-1 coming out of the gate, race 3. You can see the riders there in the first few seconds of the race are transparent, which is sort of the way that the quantum shift works. They can get their lane positioning when they come out of the gate, fighting a little bit for that. Kay says, I'll take the front. Here comes another one of her CCC teammates over on the side, Homer, her partner in crime here. The two of them, maybe they're making a statement, Frank. I did see that Homer won a race over the weekend, so he's primed good for this long course on the road. There's my friend on camera, Homer. So good to see your face. Well, it's so good to see you have. Look at that beard. How do you not get so sweaty with that? With the amount of work that you do, my goodness, you are hair blowing in the breeze, looking good. Him and Kay, right there, doing a really nice job holding the wheel by Kay. That takes some experience to make sure that you can kind of match the speed, kind of lock into that wheel in front of you. It's like being outside. You have to decide how much effort you're going to do to really benefit from that draft and not overcook it. You can see the peloton is forming there with Timothy, Shaq, Sebastian, not to be left out, and Carl Axel just a second back. So I think this group will kind of tighten up a little bit as they're on this flat before they get to the climb. Frank, any numbers that you have from the first 2 races to kind of give us a little intrigue on the positioning of these racers?
Well, I did all the numbers, but I forgot to add in the multiplier for the first race. So, so much for that. I knew I should get a computer to do this, and in fact, the scoreboards are coming back into the game. So we won't have to do this manually, hopefully next week, but certainly by the week after. So give me a little bit of time, because I thought Carl was in the lead. But actually, Sebastian would have scored more points in the first race than I gave him. So give me a little bit. I've got to redo those calculations, but I'll get back with you shortly.
Oh gosh, no pressure. You know, this is where the viewers at home, if they were paying attention, we can test them. So here we are on board with Lisa. She's going through the forest here on our course here. You can see that in the map that they are on the flat right now. You can see the little dots on the left-hand side. That's giving you their placement on the map there. We're just 1.8 kilometers in, and as they come through the flat, this is where, they're just kind of getting into a rhythm here. I don't think we're going to see any attacks right here. Everyone just wants to kind of get to the climb, but I do expect with a course profile like this that someone's probably going to make a move on one of those climbs, and maybe it's going to be the first one. And so who has the legs? But the areas of danger, of course, is when they come back down the other side, because it's very easy to lose any lead you might get on that climb if you crash on one of the tight corners. So these racers, I said no one's going to make a move here. Timothy said, I'm going to make a move. I am going to see if I'm not going to just wait until the climb. I'm going to get ahead of him. And now, this is interesting about Timothy. If you haven't followed his racing career, he is known as a tactician. He's very strategic. But one of the things is that I think oftentimes people kind of lump him into that, he knows the courses, he's really smart, he's a great racer, but he's got legs. He has got some legs, and he's not afraid to use them. That might be a song. But I don't remember if that is a song. So the rest of the group comes up, and Timothy says, okay, I'm going to make you work. I'm going to just kind of duck back in, and I'm going to take the draft now. So he's basically kind of ramping up the tempo here, the intensity here, trying to just see who wants to kind of stick along. We've got a great-looking peloton there. Sebastian, Pedro, Shaq, Carl Axel, Homer, Kay, all in the mix. BJ looking good. A little bit back further, we've got Lisa and Vanessa. Looks like the two of them, have an opportunity to maybe come together and work together. This is a long course here. You can see from our aerial view, Erhan again in the lower left-hand corner there, and all of the thumbnails of the racers that are broadcasting in game. Go ahead.
Yep, I've got some numbers finally. Since I
Yeah.
had to redo all my calculations twice. It's very interesting. That crash cost in that first race, right there at the end, cost Timothy big because of the multiplier. So we've got Seb in first. We don't even have Timothy in the top three. But we've got Seb in first with 44 points. We've got Carl in second with 37 points. So that technical course helping Carl out a bit there as well. I take that back. Timothy is in the top three. He's got 35 points. Homer is in fourth with 26 points. Shaq is in fifth with 22 points, so doing quite well. And just out of the top five, we have Lisa in sixth with 18 points.
All right. Well, one of the things, Frank, when you were doing the calculations, this is what happens when you come late to the broadcast. I read the power-ups that are for race 4 during race 3. So just so everyone knows, that's my bad. There are no power-ups on this course. So this is speaking to a different type of racer where you have to know the course, you have to know your ability, and it's a little bit longer. And the one we were just on was very tactical, very strategic, very technical. And so to come from that, it's a different mental game, Frank. So what do you think these racers are letting Timothy here get a second on the front here? They're going to close that down. It's too early for them to go, but he's setting a tempo here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the interesting things that we're seeing is great pack dynamics. So you can tell the pack isn't going too hard here. They sort of, let Timothy off the front, said, hey, you want to burn up your legs? There's a long way to go. And everybody's starting to get tired from the efforts made in the earlier parts of the playlist, in the earlier events. And so it'll be interesting to see. We see a much more sedate, shall we say, peloton here. As long as you sort of stayed with the group at the beginning, you should be able to stay for quite a while. And we'll see if people start doing some attacks or taking some turns on the front. We see a little bit of a gap opening here. But look at those pack dynamics. You don't even have to look at the power numbers. You can tell sort of how hard everybody's going. Is it thinning out in a line? Is it sort of spreading out across the road? Are they taking turns on the front? Are they having a hard time catching the back of the peloton? That's another, especially if it's a line. How difficult is that? Now people are starting to look at each other and seeing who wants to take turns. Lots of real cycling dynamics taking place today in this ride.
Yeah, I think that they're just going to kind of sit together, sit tight, and I think we're going to see some fireworks on the first of these two massive climbs, and then it'll be interesting to see what happens between the two. I call them the lumps, between the two lumps. What's the Frank, on this course, what is the percentage grade? Is there a max percentage grade on that? Because I'm just sort of thinking about the speed and the differential, and if you get disconnected on the climb and someone's on the backside of the hill, that's where they're going to really open up a little bit of a gap. How steep is it?
Great point about the climb. I wasn't even thinking about the climb. I was just thinking about the distance. And it's probably because I try and put climbs out of my mind as a sprinter. I try not to think about climbs.
You're a sprinter.
Whenever I can, right? Climb is a 4-letter dirty word. I don't like to think about climbs at all. Now, the good news is most of the climbs in Cade Sport are pretty sedate. You'll be between 2 and 4%. And as we speak about that, BJ says, yep. I've got an idea. Yep. Huge effort. 1,200 equalized watts. That's near max. Max equalized watts will be around about 1,400. It depends. You can go over that as well. But generally speaking, you can think of that as the top end of a lot of the pro cyclists who would be in the peloton, other than the really big sprinters, right? And so that's what you see here as well. So you can see the peloton isn't chasing. They're chasing pretty hard, but they haven't thinned out to a line, so they're not going stupid hard. And unfortunately for BJ, it doesn't look like he's breaking the elastic of the rubber band.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too for Pedro. I don't know if they had a little bit of some tactics at play, or if because if I was the chase back there, I'd be like, okay, Pedro, sure, pull us back, that's cool. How long can BJ hold those heavy watts? So he's back down under 400, but he did just give a little test, and maybe his idea was to beat them to the climb, and then just be able to like use that distance so that when the road turns up for him, he's just that much more ahead. So I think that if he could have gotten more than 3 seconds, they wouldn't have been able to tie him back down. But you would have needed on a flat like this, you would need at least 6 or 7 gaps. But with the group dynamics coming behind them, that's going to close up pretty quick.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think BJ is probably discovering that he's got a better chance. Okay, I just have to pause here. Medal for the best beard today definitely goes to Homer, blowing in the wind like that. And
yeah,
normally
100%.
That's just a fantastic shot, and we had Timothy there as well. And maybe that's more hair than beard. We'll have to get a comment from Homer on that. Then we've got Timothy in his now what is becoming sort of his trademark red room. I was giving him a hard time. I was telling him he should paint his room a different color, but I don't know. It's part of his signature.
I think it's perfect,
now.
Frank. Yeah, it's like
red
rum because he's a slayer.
Yeah, I gave him some other thoughts I might have about it, but I'm going to leave those off of the broadcast. But when I see red rooms, I do tend to think of Amsterdam. Okay, we saw Homer off the front here, making a big effort, and then maybe deciding to back off as we go up this climb as well.
Yeah, and you can see the speeds there. They're cooking, pretty fast there. Timothy on the front at 46 kph. They're making up a lot of time, and I think that this is one of those ones where it'd be a total different race if this was a 2-lap race. It would be long and it would be painful, which are some of the ones I remember from a couple of years ago, racing on getting some of these long races. But it's really fun to see the dynamics at play here with the groups, and if they expand and they come back together. You can see it started to get a little bit snowy as we make the climb in elevation here. 6.5 kilometers to go. You can see Homer's are out of the saddle. We've got Carl Axel in the front there with hello Team Velocity Vixen kit, looking sharp. All the kits are looking so good in game. Frank, and the avatars since over the last 12 months have really the design has been really great. The movements and all is very, very great to see.
Yeah,
that helps as a racer though.
Yep, we're always upgrading that. Now, for those of you who don't know, Beth is allowed a little bias towards Velocity Vixen. We know she's going to call it fair, but we're gonna have a little bit of bias there, and we're glad that you're happy with the kit in game. Back here a little bit further, we see people about 3 seconds, 5 seconds back, and then the question becomes who's going to do the chasing, and it looks like Kay Thompson is going to help Sebastian back up to the front here. Maybe try and close that gap down a little bit. We see the heart rates hitting the hurt locker on the front here, but this is really important for Timothy to get the 2 double points, 2 times points in this event, and he's got to make the big comeback because he's down in 3rd position with the overall points, but he's 9 points back of Seb, so he's got to definitely make that up in this particular race. And now Seb's got to hope some people come along as we hit the descent. And see if we can claw these guys back. There's still 5 kilometers to go, so there's a long way to go. But now we do see that climb, as you predicted, Beth, has broken up the peloton, and we've just got onesie-twosies here. So that speaks well for these guys on the front.
Yeah, for sure. I think too that there's another little bump coming. So I think that the most one of the things I'd be thinking about on the flat is to just try to get as much speed. You can see those speeds are coming up 50, 51. Get as much speed to try to put more distance between you and the riders, not only just climbing but the ones that are descending. Because if you can keep putting that distance on and people start cooking the downhill just because they're trying to get that free speed, but they're not paying attention to the corners, they can also make a mistake. So during those flats in between, look at him clapping away like do do do. they can put a lot of distance in, and I don't know if Timothy and Carl Axel can be friends in this game at the moment, but I think that they'd be wise to work together on this flat and then realize to like light it up at the end. But I think they're racing their own race here. I think that there they are side by side, two racers that know their physiology, that know what they can do and what their legs can bring. Two races in the tank. And I don't know if yesterday was a rest day or if yesterday was a leg day, but I think we're going to see that in the next 3.8 kilometers here. Timothy's got his head down. You can see just kind of his heart rate is above Carl Axel. Carl Axel is still going. It looks like he's getting a 1 second gap, and Timothy is just digging in, white knuckling on those grips, just being like, I am gonna no more, surrender. I can't anymore.
He's like, yeah, he's put it all in. And I was about to say, if Timothy takes this race, he jumps into the lead, the overall lead, with 75 points, and Carl will be at 71. But given the current standings on the road, we've got Carl at 77 points, and we would have Timothy at like 72 points. So he'll be 5 points back. It won't end his day. But indeed, as I predicted a little bit here, we've got, Carl says, I'm a heavyweight. I've got good technical skills. I still think Timothy has a little bit better technical skills. And you see, hopefully Timothy can catch on to this particular group, and he looks to be doing that. But Sebastian, what a cagey rider. He is.
Yeah, he is. He just saw that coming. Yeah.
Yep. So, and he's like, I'm not going to let you be here for the sprint at the end. I'm leaving you behind. And big effort by Sebastian here at 198 equalized heart rate, and he's not able to break the rubber band. Kay sort of brings back, well, she didn't really bring back the group, so maybe they can work together and get the gap. Timothy is dying, I am sure, right now, and probably if Sebastian and Kay can keep the power on, it's not going to be Timothy, I would imagine, to close that gap, but BJ comes up and does close it. So definitely advantage Carl. He's got 10 seconds out on the front. Sebastian at 196 here on the heart rate. Carl definitely putting out a bit more, showing his overall endurance prowess. But then remember, we've got a very technical course, DMV, one of Timothy's favorites, and the question will be, will he be able to win for the day? But now that being said, Timothy's got to finish in a high position, or he'll be too far back, and the two-time multiplier will accrue to Carl. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, definitely. Timothy made a decision there when Carl was getting a two. You could see him kind of like sliding back. You could see the fatigue mounting, had his head down. And so he just made a decision, which is a wise decision. Like, oh, there's people a few seconds back. Let me team up with them, hop on their wheel and get a little bit of recovery, and maybe we can close this down together. But what ended up happening at the time when he finally kind of locked wheels with the group behind him, Sebastian mounted an attack. And as you said, a very, very, cagey move to just sort of be like, yeah, okay, there's no free speed for you, Timothy. But right now, you can see the group of four here working together. I think that Timothy's heart rate's probably come back down. He does have a great capacity to recover. So, he's like, not today. That's all right. Save it for Dark Matter Velo, my friend. You've got it here. But, Sebastian and Kay and Pedro here, BJ is here. So this will be interesting here. A sprint here for second and third with Carl Axel in a very comfortable lead with 1.2 kilometers to go. So with a lead like that, he can kind of just continue to keep his speed, up or matched to the riders behind him, and he'll come across the line ahead of them and maybe save a little bit. He'll be more recovered into Dark Matter Velo, which isn't necessarily something you think about with your legs so much, you think about with your mind. So if he can get his heart rate down and kind of relax and settle back in, he'll be in a really good position going into the next race, which I know what these riders are all thinking about now.
Absolutely. And of interest here is we've got Kay Thompson. Timothy's coming back to this group. I think Timothy is probably suffering 1,000 deaths, as they say. and just really struggling to try and stay in contact here with 0.6 kilometers to go as we set up for the sprint. Kay is going to jump up the standings dramatically because she is going to have a top finish here in the 2 times multiplier. So she'll probably get into the top 5, I would imagine. Homer a little bit further back, so I don't think he'll have one of the top positions, but watch out for a big sprint by Kay here to try and close this out and get across the line. Sebastian says, nope, I don't think that's going to happen. And interestingly, we've got BJ trying to follow Sebastian, and now I gotta applaud Timothy. The heart he is showing today is really fantastic. We see BJ hit a huge sprint here, and really, very interestingly, he almost got Carl, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic sprint by BJ. Maybe aided a little bit by equalization there. Next time he might not have as much of a jump on Seb, I would imagine. But Seb comes across in third, but that could have changed things dramatically. So big points for BJ. Seb, Mr. Consistent, is going to be high on the list as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think about with the day. We'll talk about the standings here, and I know you'll be doing some math. Is the riders have different abilities and strengths, whether it's technical, just general cycling tactics, understanding the game, knowing the course, the intel, but then they also have these different races speak to those different things. And I think that it's interesting how well Seb is an all-arounder in cade sport. We talk about what's an all-arounder in the sport of cycling. Are you a climber? Are you a sprinter? What's your sort of specialty, so to speak? And definitely Sebastian is a good all-arounder. So today on race number 3, Carl takes first place, BJ takes second, Timothy in third, Sebastian, Kay, Lisa, and Homer. And really the heart, as you said, that Timothy showed to not let Sebastian take that extra place was incredible, especially after that attack. So I feel like if I was in Timothy's brain, which I'm not, he's probably going, yep, you did that attack when I came back to work with the group. I'll finish ahead of you. You watch me. So maybe he didn't say that. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. You got the numbers, Frank? How are we looking?
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because the racers can listen to the stream, and many of them do listen to the stream while they're riding. And, we attribute all of these, sort of thoughts to them, what they might be thinking, what their potential strategy is. And I got a chuckle the other day because Vanessa, who's in there racing with them, came back and said to me that everybody was sort of laughing because I had to say this or say that, and they'd be like, nope, not what I'm thinking at all. But we're going to get the riders so we can ask them specifically if we got their tactics and strategy down. We can ask them live. But in the meantime, we have a lot of fun wondering ourselves or imagining what they are thinking, and we have a lot of fun with that. So I'm looking forward to more of that as we get ready for a very, very technical race.
Yes, 30 seconds. We're going to do a 1.5 kilometer race, which if you haven't seen this before, we're not, Frank, going to have enough time to call the action. There's going to be so much going on. We're going to be stepping all over each other going, no, he goes down. She comes around. Because that is the nature of this race. It is so fun. Positions change left and right. And in 3 seconds, you're going to see it all unfold. And right now, the name of the game is the rhythm and get into consistency. All right, as they come out of the gate there, we did have a few crashes there, but you can see the obstacles up. Quantum shift. There is Vanessa going through with the corner caper and quantum shift, playing both of those power-ups. I wonder if she meant to use both of them at that time, and then she goes down, overcooks it, and then she loses a little bit a second here. Sebastian comes around her, taking advantage of that mistake there, but Vanessa will be right there on the inside lane. And I don't know, Frank, when you ride this course, do you have like a standard preferred method? Do you like to take the inside? Do you like to take the outside? Whoa, Timothy says, feel the burn, Sebastian. Feel the burn. Takes it around the corner. He knows it was winding out. You could see him slow down. He's like, I'm not going to do what Vanessa did. I'm going to use my 2 power-ups and I'm going to break in time. Coming around the lap there. Here is the look from our helicopter, our sky cam in Cade Sport. 0.9 kilometers to go. You can see everyone coming around the corner. So Frank, do you like the inside, the outside? I know the dynamics are a little bit different.
I like the inside, and I like getting in a rhythm. And the interesting thing about the power-ups is they'll get you out of your rhythm because you want to go really hard with the corner caper as an example, right? And so you got to be very careful that then you slow down enough, and then sometimes you overbrake. So I actually prefer it without power-ups, and I just can maintain my rhythm and just sort of get into a standard cycling rhythm and just stick with that. Now, truth be told, Timothy has a little bit different take, and you can see him sort of sprinting, and he's sort of got the whole skill of how much to brake and get down to speed and all of those sorts of things that you see him doing here. And when you're in a race with him, that makes you sort of respond to that. And it really changes the dynamics of the racing. It kind of gives him an advantage because he's used to this. You know, I'd prefer the rhythm, but he kind of takes me out of my rhythm. Maybe that's why he beats me regularly on Dark Matter Velo.
Well, you know, when I've raced this in the past, and I think I actually interviewed Timothy and he revealed some of his secrets, which, you know, he knew he was revealing his secrets, but it didn't matter because you have to be able to execute on those secrets. So someone who knows how to execute here, going to come across the line uncontested here. 3 seconds back will be Sebastian. So whether it's Sebastian, yep, he decides they drop both of those so that they don't lose it in the corner. I think Carl Axel was trying to get at Sebastian at the end. They both drop the power-ups at the same time, which is really the place that I would use it is on the finishing turn, because that's when, if you are close and you are capitalizing from mistakes, is you can just use those power-ups on the final corner so you can actually have a proper sprint at the end here. On board with Erhan, he comes across the line, and that is going to be followed by Pedro. There we go.
And it's funny, that race was so fast that I just now finished the calculations from the previous race. And one of the people I had forgotten, Seb was in the lead. He went down into second position after the last race. I'll do the calculations here shortly for this race. But what we see is very close. Timothy needed to win this one. I think Sebastian will probably still eke it out because Timothy was back in third place. And the real question is where Carl finishes. He finishes third. So give me a little bit. It should be close today at the top of the standings, but I'll get those to you shortly.
That sounds great. So that was race 4. And in the past, we have been doing 3 races, but it seems like we just had a little bonus race for another, cap off the day for a third race. And I'm not sure if the racers are going to be doing a casual group ride, which they often do, a cool down ride. And that's one of the times where, they do talk about, talk to each other and laugh and joke, and it's a really special time, I think, in the game, in the race, to be able to have those connections with others, talk about what you did. You can have a team chat where you're talking about tactics while you're in the race itself. You can have a channel that all of the riders together are able to hear the broadcast and not tell their secrets. But it's just always interesting to see all the different riders come out, and it's awesome to see Pedro definitely racing more solidly over the last few weeks. I've been seeing that. Kay is also very consistent. BJ is back again for more. Kate, I haven't seen Kate in the past. Kate, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Lisa, I'm glad you're here. Shaq, Frank, as you're doing the math, I'll talk about Shaq. Shaq has been increasing her skill, and I'm not sure how much she rides, and so I would say that it's interesting if we were to take a poll, and maybe that's something you can do on the Facebook page, is take a poll of how much prep these racers do to prepare, right? So that would be very interesting to see, like, for the amount of prep and probably time that Shaq does put in, she would definitely be an assassin if she put in the time that Timothy put in. So race 1 through 4, this is how they stack up. Sebastian, Carl, Homer in race 1, Carl Axer, Timothy, Sebastian. Race 3, Carl, BJ, and Timothy, and then 4, Timothy, Sebastian, Carl. I'm glad you're doing the math and not me, Frank. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a it was a little bit of a struggle for me. Very close racing today. Carl takes it, that 2 times win in the second to last event, sealed the deal for him. Seb comes in second at 85 points. Timothy right behind him at 83 points. So the score multipliers really making a big difference today. Interestingly, we've got Homer in 4th position, and rounding out the top 5 is newcomer BJ Afonso, who crossed second in that 2 times multiplier race, and it really the points helped him. Now, obviously, the DMV he didn't do well on. Otherwise, he might have been a little bit further up the standings as well. But he's going to have to practice to get those skills to score in the playlists overall. But fantastic racing today. Lots of fun to watch.
For sure. And, the multipliers do add another dynamic, because if you are saying, oh, I'm really good at the skilled races, or, oh, I'm good at the long races, or, oh, I'm good at, this is my superpower, coming into a set of races, into a playlist like this, making those decisions up front, about what races you're really going to, tear yourself up for. It was obvious that in race 3, Timothy, he was taking those punches early on, Frank, and that ended up to be maybe his folly, because Carl Axel kind of sat in and... Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and I think what probably cost Timothy the day are certainly a lot of points was, I think you came in a little bit late, Beth, and Timothy was on the front, definitely had the win in the first race, and Mr. Technical, I'm going to start calling him Mr. Technical, just overcooked the very last corner, maybe 50 meters before the finish in race 1. He went down, and everybody else was close enough that 4 or 5 riders zoomed past him, and that probably caught him out for the day. Otherwise, I imagine he could have scored quite a few more points, and that might have put him over the top. So these races are very, very close. That being said, Carl picked all the right races to do well in, and he did a phenomenal job today. So congratulations, best overall for the day. A lot of good riding, especially in that 2 times race. He really showed his endurance and his power and his sort of heart and desire as well. But congratulations to the top 3 riders today, Carl, Tim, and Sebastian. So the news is we put out a little question on social media. Would more endurance, less technical, change the heavyweights at the top? And the answer is nope. The heavyweights of Cade Sport are still at the top, but it did change the order a little bit as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The rest of this week is the same. We're setting up for Cade Sport tournaments coming up. And during that period of time, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, we'll have the same races so people can race when they can and score points. And then we'll put the standings all together. But what's fun about this, at least I enjoy it, we'll get some feedback from everybody else, is these people are starting to learn the dynamics of these races, and they'll get to do it if they want again on Thursday, and they'll get to do it again on Saturday. And I like doing that because I improve each time. Tactically, I don't think, as an example, Timothy would crash in that corner on Thursdays. So it'll be interesting to see what people think about that. Please give us feedback on social media, and we look forward to that.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Frank. That wraps up another Tuesday race here. And as Frank said, we have Thursday for these racers to come back and try it again, get some more points, and other racers who couldn't make today's race be there on Thursday. But from all of us at Cade Sport, I'm Beth with Frank. Have a great day.